Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot and welcome to today's reading. In today's reading, we're going to ask the question of whether they are moving back toward you at this time, if that's the trajectory that they're on. So, for a lot of you, it seems like they're kind of putting themselves in your general vicinity, but not really allowing themselves to get quite close enough for you to have a meaningful connection. And so are they coming your way? Are they still kind of heading farther away? That's kind of the question that we're asking today. So it'll be a general reading for this collective. If it resonates with you, you might want to think about subscribing and maybe taking a look at some of the other messages that have been out there. They're fairly timeless. So even things that first came out, when I first came out on YouTube, I didn't realize it yet, but they were all really going to be part of the same collective reading. So I get notes all the time that says I looked back pretty far, and I've discovered that I have been able to resonate with this for quite some time. So anyway, take a look at some of the older messages if it looks like it might resonate with you. We're going to start out by looking at today's energy around your person, and really around your person and you, but we're going to focus on your person in this energy. Okay, so we've got the Magician. This is, okay, so what I'm getting with this Magician is they feel like their hands are tied in some way, which is not uncommon for us to feel with this. But what's a little bit different about this is they feel like this is something they should be able to control, but for whatever reason, they can't. So something in your person, it could be very simple, just something that is very simple. Feels like they're having an off day, but something that they feel like they should be able to control, but can't. We've all had that day where it just kind of feels like, of all things, how does it seem like the most basic things are getting in my way? It seems like even the small things are conspiring to make things difficult. With the Strength card in the reverse, they're not very well equipped to fight back against that. And I feel like this is specifically around the thoughts that are impacting them around you. Like they have what seems like a relatively innocuous situation, and then some memory comes back that's about you that they thought they were past, and it just kind of hits them. They've got the Two of Swords, or that's what's sitting in their energy also. So Two of Swords in the reverse here, it feels like a crossroads that they need to address, but for whatever reason, they're not feeling quite ready to address it yet. So having an off day, wanting to take a break from something that has been kind of bugging them, don't feel like they're ready to address this. This is not a new situation where they find themselves at the crossroads. However, it is a little bit different because they're feeling a little bit of pressure to move, to get something done. So in some cases, here's a person who's kind of been sitting at this crossroads, not making a decision, but now they feel a little bit of a fire lit under them to do something, push them in one direction or the other. Let's see what wants to come out in addition for this. So this one wants to come out separately. Judgment card in the reverse. And then we have Two of Cups and the Magician in the reverse again. Okay, so with the Judgment card in the reverse, this one is, we see in a lot of these readings, this growing awareness of kind of where they are in their situation. Growing awareness does not necessarily mean that they're prepared to talk about it or even prepared to articulate it. In a lot of cases, the fact that they're aware of it kind of doesn't make them more comfortable with the situation. If anything, it makes them feel less comfortable, but they're also feeling like they're just increasingly aware of kind of what's going on with it. And we know that they're learning lessons, but we also know that it feels like it is their awareness is not necessarily connected with everything that's happening. So they're becoming aware of some things. They're not necessarily super proud of the behaviors that they've exhibited, but they are starting to get like a growing discomfort with their when they think about their role in this, when they think about the energy of the two of you together. Having this Two of Cups though, so this feels a little bit like they don't believe they are, it's almost an I'm not worthy of what I want from this. So they want something from this relationship, but they don't feel like they can have it. They don't feel like they're worthy of it. They don't feel like they've put forth adequate they haven't done what they need to do, or there's something where they fall short, or someplace that they lack. And so keep in mind, this may be driving part of the quiet. It may be driving part of the lack of communication, is the fact that they don't think that they truly deserve what's here, and they're uncomfortable. There's a sense of them being uncomfortable as a result of that. Plus, not feeling like they're in control. There's a big, strong sense of them not feeling like they're in control. And I'm going to tell you, it comes out extra strongly when I see the Magician card in reverse, and it feels like my hands are tied, and it feels like I should have some more control over this situation, just kind of in general. Okay, let's look to see what else wants to come out in the energy. And it is the energy of a missed opportunity. Missed opportunity with you, missed opportunity in general, and just kind of feeling like they don't know where to begin. So even though things might seem pretty clear to you, and you may even have given them some fairly clear feedback about the direction that you would like for them to go, or what you find acceptable, or what you need from them, they may not really be interpreting it the way that it seems like you would expect them to, given what you've told them and what you've given them. They are so wrapped up in the missed opportunity and the concept of not winning something that they want to win, that they are maybe letting that run away with them a little bit. So they're having this hard time even hearing the words that you're providing. You've given them messages, you've given them communication, and they have a hard time taking it at face value. And you may have told them exactly what it is that you need. They're constantly kind of thinking, well, what exactly does that mean? Am I getting trapped? There's this sense, I don't know why. It really comes out with this Two of Wands here. It's a sense of them feeling like they're getting trapped in something, and yet they know there's this growing sense of discomfort because it's like they're lying to themselves. And it makes sense in that they're feeling like they're being trapped in some way, and they're sort of making an excuse or overlooking their role in it, I guess. Making an excuse to overlook their role in it. So trying to kind of work around the fact that they haven't been able to learn the lessons that they need to learn. And with this Page of Pentacles in reverse, they're not necessarily, they aren't open to those lessons. I think that's really what the problem is. So they're not open to the lessons that they need to learn, which makes it much more difficult for those to come through. There's a lot of focus on pain, focus on something that seems like it either isn't going to go well or seems like it really kind of already hasn't. Frustration and a lot of static. I guess static is probably the word that I've been feeling all along, or the concept that I've been feeling all along, where there's an awkwardness, there's waiting for something else to kind of happen, waiting for the other shoe to drop, as it were. They are feeling like everything's kind of coming into view for them, and they don't especially like some of what they're seeing. A lot of it is because they're in unfamiliar territory, in some cases uncharted territory, because this relationship, the way that this feels, is different from any other. Here we are with the Two of Swords again. So we have the Two of Swords in the reverse over here, where we've got that crossroads that they more or less sat down in the middle of, but they now feel like they need to get up and move around. We have a Two of Wands, which to a certain degree has a little bit of that crossroads feel to it as well. It's more of a you need to move and find some common ground. But this Two of Swords it's saying you've got a new opportunity. It's basically that there's something in this energy that presents a new opportunity for them to make this decision, and it's like almost an all is forgiven sort of energy. So they're really like they're waking up to it, but they're not quite able to get through all the rest of this static to get to a place where they'd be able to more easily make this decision. And the thing is, it's like a whole life decision. It's about you, and that's the face that's or the front that's facing them right now. However, this is a decision that is it's really about their entire life. It's about their entire approach to their life. So this is pretty significant right here. there's a lot of tension that it kind of, not necessarily that the tension itself is significant, but it's kind of, it's putting them in a place where they're not going to be able to sit at this crossroads. They have to get up and move one direction or another. So we're asking about that trajectory. And when we get into their energy, one of the things that really comes out is kind of this burning need to do something a little bit different. This feeling that you can't stay where you are. You know, there's a need to get out and do something a little different. But with this Magician card in the reverse, just kind of feeling like they don't have, they don't feel like they have it all together. They're not necessarily satisfied. So let's see here. I'm starting to look into, and those fell out, they didn't feel like they were part of the reading. I'm starting to look into that, the question of kind of the trajectory that we were looking, and it's just dying to come out. We've got the 10 of Cups. I saw the Judgment card there as a little bit of, it's an honorable mention, but it's reminiscent of this Judgment card over here. So it feels a lot like the light is dawning on this, on them. You know, they're able to see a little bit more of this, but it's almost a little too late all the time. They're moving in a direction where they're starting to be able to see the big picture. It is overwhelming to them. We know that they're having constantly kind of this ability to see a little bit more all the time. The information is coming, the messages are coming, and we see in reading after reading, they're not quite sure how to interpret what they're seeing. So even having some of the secrets come to them is not especially helpful if they're not sure how to put those to assimilate them into the rest of their lives. Just like we see that truth that's out there, that they are able to see, but they're not necessarily able to make good sense of it. Okay, so we have, and we're supposed to take that one too. We have the 5 of Rods in the reverse and the 6 of Cups in the upright. The 6 of Cups harkens back to memories from the past, but what really strikes me about this is the fact that those memories from the past are getting so much attention right now. So in their quietest moments, we kind of see that they have this tendency to think about you. They think about you in more of a gentle way, maybe, than they have in the past. So the 6 of Cups is a card of memory, but also nostalgia. And in this case, it's a sad nostalgia, but it's also a beautiful nostalgia. So they're able to look back at that time where they were just discovering you, and they were just sort of feeling that soul recognition, and there's a newness to it. It feels a little too good to be true. That's the thing that comes out there, and that feeling of it being too good to be true triggers them into their next steps, which in a lot of cases meant running away. It meant taking the easy way out. And honestly, that's what I see here with the 5 of Rods, but it's difficult because it's like they're very driven to take the easy way out, but by the same token, they're also very driven by those memories that are coming back to them now and start to mean a little bit more to them now, even than they did before. So even at the time that they happened, I think that they maybe they didn't realize the significance of that. Let's see what else comes out to help clarify. So this is telling us that there's more than one thing playing out in this trajectory. With the 5 of Rods here, this is like the 5 of Wands, so it's fire energy. And it's that feeling of, you know, taking the easy way out, making excuses. The excuses that feeling of excuses started coming out in kind of just the general energy that's moving between you. But okay, so the combination between that Judgment and reverse energy, which we've now seen twice, once over here and then once as an honorable mention from this deck, makes me realize that they're starting to see a more of the picture, but I, again, don't feel like they're able to interpret more of the picture. What they need is to kind of continue in the path of the healing, to continue on the path of the healing. But it's a slow process. Now, what I like about this Knight of Pentacles is, yes, it's a slow process, but it is also a consistent and steady process. So it is one that looks like it's actually moving forward. It just does so at a slower rate. So the good thing about this Knight of Pentacles, though, is it is really dependable. It gets there. So here's somebody who is gradually moving back in your direction, but maybe with some The thing is, it's not necessarily super consistent. So the Knight of Pentacles is a consistent energy, but it's more the overall. If you backed up and looked at the overall curve, you would see consistent improvement. But if you zoom in and look at it from a day to day, it looks like a pretty jagged line that you don't really see the big pattern until you step back. So with the Knight of Pentacles, it's more referring to that big pattern, but in the day to day, they're still having a lot of conflict, a lot of back and forth. There is a lot of self-trust that they don't exactly have. A lot of I wish this Strength card was part of it. A lot of the self-trust that they are in the process of building, and that some days they even feel like they have, it's overall it's lacking. There's a need for them to be their own best friend, to be their own support. Again, it kind of feels like that inner child work that's come out in, I swear, every reading that I've done over the last 2 weeks. Plus, it keeps coming out in the collective readings as well, like the personal readings. It keeps coming out. It's not always the Seven of Swords, but the concept of, hey, here's where you need to go in to fix this, or your person needs to go in to fix this, frequently coming out. A need for them to be able to access that self-trust on a regular basis so that this becomes a little bit less jagged of a trajectory in the upward direction. Because honestly, until you step back and look at the big picture, it's not super clear that they're moving forward. And so it's not at all surprising to me that you might ask the question, are they actually moving forward? So from this, I can see that they are, but the trajectory is incredibly slow and jagged, and it requires you to step back to be able to see the whole thing. So there is a lot of, with this Emperor in reverse, a lot of them wanting to try and take control of their situation and make it into maybe something a little bit different from what it looks like to them. So I also think their interpretation of the situation is a little bit questionable. So what they're trying to change it away from, or they're trying to change it into, is maybe not so different from what it already is, but maybe just they're not seeing it. Because there's, with the Ace of Pentacles here, there is a great deal of resistance. It's resistance in general to being able to, it's like they want to be able to have their cake and eat it too. They want to be able to have, here's the sense of a person who wants to be like, act like a single person, but have the ability to come to you when they want to come to you. And they may not want to come to you at times that are convenient to you. It's that sort of thing. So you ask the question if they're going to come to you. Yes, this would say that they are. But you need to be discerning about whether or not you're going to allow them to do that, because it may not be that they're operating within what feels safe in your boundaries. Maybe some adjustment is required in what is safe in your boundaries, and maybe we'll take a look at your focus over here. But at this point, what we can see is they are operating outside of that, and they are doing so knowingly. So they are not giving you what you need, but in some cases giving you just enough to keep you kind of hanging on. So you've got the Knight of Cups here that says that deep down they want to give you more, but they don't really know how to do that without creating an imbalance, or what feels like an imbalance for them. So they have a great desire for this sort of balance that they've built up in their mind that doesn't necessarily really exist as such. So the ideal that they're shooting for is something that they think they've seen, but they've not ever actually experienced. And so it's this is a hard-won balance that actually feels very realistic. It doesn't just feel like everything is always going to be just fine. And what they're shooting for is a balance that feels like everything is going to be just fine. And the problem is that's not balance. That's like a more extensively optimistic and unrealistic. And this Temperance requires a more down-to-earth sort of energy. So they're shooting for an ideal that they're going to have a hard time reaching, because that ideal does not necessarily exist as such. Again, the concept of interpretation comes up again. I'm curious to know what it is that they're interpreting, like how are they actually interpreting things? And I'm getting a little bit of a sense here that, but I'm mostly getting, I'm resistant because it isn't looking the way that I would have written it, or the way that the way that I had it in my fantasy, and I'm not ready to deal with it at times that I'm not ready to deal with it. Like it's not, they have to turn it on and off. They can't just have a free flow of emotion. But there is a significant amount of change in here. So when we're looking at that trajectory, we've seen a lot of the Tower, we've seen a lot of the Death card. Now we're seeing the Wheel of Fortune. So the Wheel of Fortune is change that happens to you as a result of what the universe kind of puts into your world. It's not necessarily change that you have control over, and sometimes it actually can stop you from moving through a change to give you a chance to see something or to look more closely at something. And that's kind of what I almost feel here with this Wheel of Fortune. So it's in the upright. The change is happening. I got to take this jacket off. I swear I get halfway through a reading and all of a sudden I get all warmed up, as it were. But so this Wheel of Fortune is, there's going to be some element of things not necessarily moving on the trajectory that they would expect, but still feeling like they're moving maybe a little bit more quickly than they feel comfortable with. Then we've got, with this Three of Cups in the reverse, just kind of that reminder, that they've got other things happening in their world that is really changing the trajectory of whether they're coming to you or not, because that's the trajectory that we're looking at. Every time I'm using that word, I'm talking about, like, are they coming toward you? Are they moving away from you? Gradually they're moving toward you. Gradually they're trending upward. Gradually they're improving and solving their concerns, their problems, but they're having a lot of trouble interpreting what's happening or even understanding what success looks like. So with this Temperance card especially, that comes out. With the Temperance card, we see that they are defining success as something that is, it's an ideal that's going to be really difficult to reach. But with this Three of Cups in the reverse, it's like even they are putting that on the back burner and trying to figure out like how they're even going to get around what's happening with that. They're trying to compartmentalize what's happening with their third party energy compared with what's happening with you, and they're having a hard time doing it. Because ultimately the issues that the lessons that they're learning in both places are very much connected. So it's like the worlds keep crashing into one another and they'd like to keep them separate for as long as possible. But the thing is, the lessons that they're learning with the third party are very much relevant to lessons that are going to be required in order for you to be successful in this union. But then we got the Four of Cups. So Four of Cups talks about kind of the inherent disappointment that they feel in this situation. And it's partially brought about by this Judgment, and partially brought about by this Four of Swords energy. So the Four of Swords energy it's the energy of their healing, but it's like in this case, they can kind of see, it's like they're seeing their healing from it, like it's happening from up above. And their perspective on this keeps changing, but it's a very uncomfortable perspective. And we saw that with the Judgment card. This is part of what's creating some of that awkwardness within them. Talking with you, interacting with you is not going to resolve that awkwardness, but it may not make it any worse because it is very much based on things that are happening inside them. But it does give them a little bit more, I guess, to have to work through. So it's more of a load for them. That's why it seems like it's a bit of a burden when the two of you try to communicate and all of a sudden you feel like you're being put off. Like, wait, why does this person, why are they so resistant to having even a simple communication? It's like they just can't, they don't feel like they can handle it. They're overwhelmed from an emotional standpoint and they're not ready to open any doors right now, but they are still moving back in this direction. So if it feels confusing because there's this push and this pull, it's because it is totally confusing and there is a push and a pull. So they've got that desire to take the easy route, but they've also got that desire to act on what they've seen in the past and move in the direction of their happiness and their 10 of Cups, 9 of Cups, feeling of something that really feels like it's too good to be true, but it's actually just tailor-made for them. So let's take a look now into what is needed for you, because I think when we get into the extended, we're going to get in a little bit more deeply on these concepts and understand, like, what is this resistance about. I want to understand for you not just what this resistance about, but what is this interpretation that what are they seeing, what are they interpreting, what are they getting out of this, like what is their perception of the situation overall, because we see that it's got a lot of push and pull. And we also see that they have greater awareness of it as time goes on. But what exactly does that mean? So we'll get into that, I think, when we get into the extended. First, let's take a look at what's happening with you and where you need to be focused given what's happening here. What's happening, what else we've got on the table. And we look at your healing every day. Ooh, Three of Rods in the upright. I love this. This is a very take charge feeling for you, and you are encouraged to cultivate it, but don't just fall for anything. Don't go for anything that calls your name or tries to sell itself to you. There is a sense of needing to be discerning about which opportunities you take, because you've got multiple opportunities coming your way, and you wouldn't want to give your energy over to something that isn't really going to reciprocate. There's a strong sense of reciprocation being required, and you sort of coming into your own over here, and I've talked about your flame growing as you get towards the end of this year. And the other day I was doing a reading and someone asked me what that meant. It was a personal reading and I mentioned it, and I realized I've been saying that and I don't necessarily think that it's super well defined. So really, I think what I said was something to the effect of, this is you getting more closely aligned with the amazing person that you're becoming. And that's definitely true, but it's like more energy coming in to support you. That is, you're not spending more energy to see this greater flame that you are. So you are basically learning to tap into your higher power. You're learning to tap into your higher self, and that's helping to make it's self-actualization that is starting to happen. That's why I keep saying I'm not sure what happens after the first of the year, because the I keep getting this view as the year progresses, and it's like the calendar year, which tarot does not care about the calendar year. So for the fact that it comes out that way, I think is fairly significant. It's like as you're doing this, something happens as you're getting towards the beginning of next year, and usually, I feel like the changeover of the calendar is can just be changeover of the Gregorian calendar. However, it feels a little special this time. So this King of Pentacles just kind of brings that out for me and reminds me that there's something very special going on there. Ten of Cups. What did I drop? Let's see. I dropped a card, but it was face down. So we've got the Ten of Cups. Ten of Cups over here, Ten of Cups over here. This is talking about opportunities coming into you. May not look the way that you anticipate them looking. This could be like I pick up an instrument that I want to play and I'm better at it than I thought I was going to be. Do I jump into it? Do I not care and set it down? What do I do if I was really interested in playing this? Or, I meet a person, they seem like they're really fantastic. Do I chase? Do I run? Do I not do anything? Do I, what is the response that you have when somebody or something seems like it's a little bit too good to be true? And, ideally, we used to talk about this on this channel. We want to get in a little bit closer and understand what you're dealing with before you make that determination. But it's not always an easy thing to do. There is going to be, so something in your past makes you feel like there's a sense of regret. You are encouraged to work through it. Like, don't just squeeze that emotion right out and say, there's no room for regret here. Like, I can get how it's an unpleasant emotion, but when it happens, jump in there and understand what it is. So really grab it, pull it closer, take a look at it, what it is, and what is causing you that sense of regret. Before you let it go, because there's going to be something in there that results in an important lesson for you, and it will not be an obvious one. This is an exercise in making decisions with a little bit less information. You're going to have some of that. So the people in this collective, you people are really good at making decisions with less information than you might feel comfortable with. Many of you have gotten quite adept at this just in your lives over the years, and it's something that you have a flair for, but it does not necessarily mean you find it comfortable. So look for a situation where you're going to be having to sort of go on faith, and then think about really what that means for you. You've got the Hanged Man here, and it looks like a new perspective, but I feel like it's a new perspective that is very much still unfolding. So this is a time of going into your meditation and really just thinking about what's there, thinking about what's inside, thinking about the direction that things have been going. This is a perspective that is not fully formed, and that's okay. So just keep that in mind. You've got a Nine of Swords that just kind of goes along really nicely with this. It's an exploring kind of feeling. You are encouraged to focus on self-exploration at this time. Based on the fact that we see the rest of this, you have a person who is moving back in your trajectory, but not necessarily doing so very quickly. You've constantly been given the advice um, to walk away, leave the door open, and then don't watch to see if they're, and they don't look to see if they're coming through the door. So you don't have to walk away, as it were. You've also been given the advice that walking away is not the most important thing. It's not so much turning your back on this as it is opening yourself up to something new. And here, it's like you have this great energy to do it. You've got new alternatives and new opportunities coming your way. And with this Nine of Swords in the reverse, it's like you're able to calmly evaluate them. So you can be discerning. I feel like you're going to be good with that Fool in the reverse energy that says don't just jump into any old thing that comes your way. So you know from watching these readings that one of your lessons in this is that what you need in life is constantly changing. What your person needs in life is constantly changing. And so you must constantly be questing for what does it look like? Otherwise, you find yourself in a situation where now you got to go have a midlife crisis, or you end up going through an experience that gives you a spiritual awakening. And whereas spiritual awakenings are pretty cool once you get to the other side, they're not always super enjoyable while you're in them. And you can minimize the pain of that by constantly being aware of what's changing and just being open to that, not making judgments or wanting to hold on to something that exists now or that has previously existed just for the sake of holding on to it. The High Priestess here says that in the reverse that there are going to be some messages trying to come your direction. We've seen this. It's not like frantically moving your direction, but it is fairly consistently moving your direction and very much wants to be heard. It is going to be wise for you to try and listen as well as you can. Try and listen as best you can for this. Let's see. Ooh, is that another Three of Wands? I love this. So the Three of Wands is telling us, it's like a sense of being prepared. It's a sense of being prepared or making preparations successfully. But this Three of Wands says that you've already set something in motion that is going to be beneficial for you. We see a lot of this. I mean, we've seen it come up here, but it just seems like we've seen a lot of it in the previous readings as well. There is something about you that's really developing and changing and becoming more impressive, and it's not like egotistical sort of impressive either. It's just impressive. Anyone would step back and say this is really great progress as you've moved through just what you've done so far, but continue along with this, because this is really the energy of being able to continue to do great things, being able to continue to move more toward the things that make you happy, with opportunities to build on your experience as well. So you're going to be meeting people, kind of seeing new opportunities that maybe you haven't seen as opportunities in the past. So we're going to go ahead and go over to the extended now. We may get into some of these opportunities depending on how the rest of this pans out, and I'm super curious again to understand what it is that your person is seeing here. What is this interpretation that they're coming up with as they look at the rest of this? Because it's like as the light dawns on things, they're seeing it, but the view that they're seeing may not be especially helpful, and that's part of why we're seeing that trajectory be so up and down as they move. Like you have to really step back quite a bit to be able to see that they're going in a good direction, because as we see with this card and the way that feels, it's like day to day, not necessarily great progress. So like I said, we'll head off to the extended. The link is down below if you'd like to come along for that. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's reading, where we're going to take a look at this full moon.